Lights, camera, action. Welcome to another exciting episode of Survive Unplugged. And today we're going to be delving into 12 Rules for Life, an anecdote to chaos by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Reason I'm doing this is because I'm reading it. And the reason I'm reading it is because several years ago I went through a series of unfortunate events, lemony snickets. And in addition to that, empty nest syndrome, where you dedicate your life to raising kids for a period of time and then they're off flying high. And now what do you do with the rest of your life? I used to listen to music, love jazz, like live jazz too, supper clubs, concerts, that kind of a thing. And don't listen to music anymore. So I find myself now having to make it a point to turn on music like it's an event or something. When I used to just listen to it driving along. Now it's, I guess what, talk radio it became. Anyway, sort of like Humpty Dumpty that fell off the wall, Humpty Dumpty that had a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men don't seem to be able to put this Humpty Dumpty back together again. I can't fix myself. I went several years ago to see a psychiatrist to see if she could, or if one turned out to be a woman. And I let her know, ask me whatever questions you need to ask me, spend as much time as we need to, and diagnose me, tell me what's wrong with me so I can fix myself. Well, I spent 2 hours with her, and at the end of that process, she went away, did her little magic, came back, I guess, a month later, a week later, I don't remember. But she diagnosed me with unspecified mild depression, whatever that is. But I don't feel depressed. I don't know what that feels like. I'm not sad. I'm not hopeless. I don't feel helpless. Just maybe, I don't know, lack of direction, maybe focus. What are the important things in my life going forward? That kind of a thing. What am I to dedicate the rest of my life to? Sort of a crusader, I've got to believe. So I need something to believe in, a cause. Anyway, going through this process, came across this book. I was watching a YouTube video, and Dr. Peterson was going through an issue with, I think, Toronto, where he was a professor. And it was the issue was compelled speech, to try to compel one to say words. And I'm totally against that. Anyway, I found that interesting that he would be having to deal with that, being a college professor and all. But such is the time we live, and this was in Canada, so maybe their environment, culture is a little bit different than ours. So let's see. Anyway, came to Jordan Peterson. Let me read a little bit about this guy, straight from the back of the book. Jordan B. Peterson has taught mythology to lawyers, doctors, and business people, consulted for the UN Secretary General, helped his clinical clients manage depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, anxiety, and schizophrenia, served as an advisor to senior partners of major law firms, and lectured extensively in North America and Europe with his students and colleagues at Harvard and the University of Toronto. Dr. Peterson has published more than 100 scientific papers transforming the modern understanding of personality, while his now classic book, Maps of Meaning, The Architecture of Belief, revolutionized the psychology of religion. Just a little bit about that guy. All right, so he's an interesting guy. It seemed like an interesting book. I like to read, so I figured let me go ahead and see if I can apply some of those 12 rules to life to me and sort of tune myself back up. So anyway, started going through that, and what I'm going to do now is just summarize. This isn't a book review nor a critique, but just more of some of the things that I read in it and then what I got out of it. Simple enough. Starts with lobsters. Goes quite in depth, in my opinion, about the life of lobsters, the habitat, the mating patterns. They lose and reacquire shells. Probably more than I ever wanted to know about lobsters. But he draws a parallel, and then a little bit on the wren, the bird. He had one when he was a kid. Told little stories about that, anecdotal. And all right, so we draw the conclusion now to humans. But before we do that, let me just do a quote from that. What is it, page 5? I'm going to take a quote straight from the book, something that just sort of launched out off the page at me. A lobster needs a safe hiding place to rest, free from predators and the forces of nature. And I found that to be like with humans. Every man and woman needs a castle, a cave, or a home. And in the United States of America, those are becoming more increasingly difficult to come by. So that's a relevant topic. Goes into the dominance hierarchy. And that's just sort of a universal thing whenever you have animals, humans. You're going to find that once they begin to interact, they are within that population, with that group, any room of people, any class, any group, going to establish sort of a dominance hierarchy. And they're going to be those at the top who will wind up being the, what do you call it in the, the jury duty, where you have the foreman. Somebody's going to be the foreman. So you're going to have that evolve out of any population. And I sort of understand that, being a people watcher myself. And then I'm a documentary lover. Places, people, things, subjects. Love documentaries. That's why I found YouTube so magnificent. Any documentary you want to watch on anything, anytime. So you can binge watch documentaries. Let's see. It also went in, he did a little area on neurochemistry, the chemistry in the brain. And while having no knowledge of any of that, I do think something sort of snapped in my brain. I know that there are things you can observe, things you can see that will sort of change the way you view things for the rest of your life. Just, one instance. Maybe I'll do a video about the time I talked to a dead man, although he did most of the talking. But yeah, that changed the way, that changed how I see things, forever. So events can alter, I believe, how the mind works, and he goes into that on a more scientific level. And anyway, what came out of that was building a ladder to where I want to go, one rung at a time, beginning with small things, at the bottom of the ladder. Something as simple as going to bed at a certain time, waking up, at a certain time. Those kinds of things that help over the course of life. But just starting with little things and beginning to gain a sense of confidence. I went through a process of being a straight A student in college, Beta Alpha Psi in the accounting school. That's the only fraternity I belong to. It's an honors fraternity for accounting students. I was in the student chapter at USC. But now, you fall down. Oh man, I fall in and I can't get up. You see everybody moving around and they seem so effective, and I just feel so ineffective. I got to figure out like what's wrong. I've got to climb back up. So, and I think that's normal, probably at this stage of life where, I don't know, maybe you've had an accomplishment or you did something and then something happened and, maybe lose a job, that kind of a thing. A lot of that's probably going on now, especially with some of us older, seasoned citizens, with the technology changes and the rapid changes of things. How I'm used to doing it with the new technological capabilities, things are different, and it's like trying to keep up now. So anyway, small successes like being able to edit one video. Right now I just shoot them raw, and whatever it is, and I just go plop. But I want to do something, actually like edit a video. So things like that, just small things. So that's one thing that little section sort of pointed out to me, the need to do that. And then it brought up the principle of unequal distribution. There is no equality in life. Equality doesn't exist, never will. You can't create it. What you can do is improve equality through maybe helping those who are less equal, but you'll never have equality among two different people, two different populations, even siblings who have both the same parents, the same resources, the same genetics went into building both. No two siblings are the same. No two siblings are equal. So life is not equal. And he pointed that out through the illustration and implementation of 3 laws, one being Price's law. Not familiar with that at all. It's the first time I heard of it, I believe. And then he dealt with Pareto's law, and I believe that's the 20-80 rule, which in consulting I've used and have, it works, made money that way, saved money or made money for other CPAs that way. And that basically, to summarize that, I think that's a Pareto rule. At least it's related. 20% of the effort produces 80% of the output. 20% produces 80% of the benefit. Something like that. And that's that's a truism. It doesn't absolutely hold to everything, but it's a good principle to kind of go by. 20% of what you do in life produces 80% of the benefit that you get out of life. So focus on what's important, that 20%. And the last one was the Matthew principle, and I'll recast it. Those who have will receive more, and those who don't, what little they have will be taken from them. Otherwise, the rich will get richer and the poor will get poor. And so that's just a truism. I've noticed that in business, capital attracts capital. When you have an accumulation of capital here, it will attract additional capital. And that's the case. Success breeds success. The more success you have, the more opportunity success presents itself. So there is first, things are unequal. There is no equality, and the rich will get richer and the poor will get poor. But what's poor? That's where we start from. I have a bit of a different definition. The definition that I consider poverty is a state where you have to do everything for yourself. You have to grow your own food. You have to raise and husband your own animals. You have to slaughter your own, and you have to do everything yourself because you don't have power to force other people to do it, nor do you have the money to pay other people to do it, and no other way to compel other people to do it. So you have to do those things yourself. But I don't know, if you can pay somebody to cook your food, are you poor? If you can pay somebody to then deliver your food, are you poor? So my standard of poverty is a little bit different than what we might be, used to here in America. So when I say the rich get richer and the poor get poor, well, count your blessings, and maybe you're not as poor as you think. Another area that it touched on was the interaction between men and women, male and female, procreation and functionality through societal norms and changes in the environment. There's one culture might emphasize or value something higher maybe than another society. So one individual over here may have more opportunity than an individual over there because we possess different traits, different characteristics. We all have different strengths and different weaknesses. So given the situation, the circumstances of where you are, you may be more useful or more impactful in one environment that you are in another. So and then that goes to, how the mating is selected and procreation and who gets to procreate. and that sort of a thing, which sort of brought to me the concept of independent, or no, rather dependence to independence to interdependence, and my lack of interdependence. I got stuck on independence, and I believe that stems from trust issues going back to possibly when I was a kid. And so, because of trust issues, or, and then my weakness in developing interdependence with people limits my growth. It's always, and I've been conscious of that. Even in practice, I was conscious of it. It's kind of easy in my profession to hide it because, one, you can be a sole practitioner. The other opportunity is to be a partner. I did a bit of both. Sole practitioner in the consulting practice. I ran that on my own, and then the CPA and attest practice was in a CPA firm. So there's a partnership. So my practice in the partnership is my responsibility, but we are interdependent in running the actual business, the partnership. And so that was a comfortable place for me, given my own limitations in interdependence. I was interdependent enough to be a partner. Okay, interdependence. So I need to create more opportunity for interdependence in life. So that was one of the things that section pointed out to me. And then there was another section that he called the nature of nature. Nature is conservative, builds on what works. Nature is brutal. Nature is unforgiving, violent. Earthquakes don't care how old you are, how much money, how rich or poor you are. Volcanoes don't care if you're male or female. They're all kind of natural disruptions. A lion will eat a baby human just as well as they will probably a baby gazelle. It may seem horrible to us to watch that, but makes no difference. Meat is meat to a lion, or to maybe any predator, and sometimes even human predators. And which brings me to wanting to use this quote on page 13. Let's go to that quote. Let's see. Where is it? As the environment supporting a species transforms and changes, the features that make a given individual successful in surviving and reproducing also transform and change. The only constant is change. Can anybody make an argument that the world isn't changing? Probably more rapidly than ever. And if the world is changing, then I need to change. Right now I'm going through CPE, and I haven't been in practice since before COVID. Effectively, I'm a caregiver now for, I guess, what would be considered the elderly and those with diagnoses. I took that on probably as a full-time job. December of 2020, the year of COVID, there were a few elderly in the family who were struggling, and then I had one aunt who was taking care of uncle and cousin, and she wound up having a stroke. So I moved in there, and for about 18 months, a year and a half, I did pretty much 7-day a week, 24-hour a day in-home care for people that I love. Very different from auditing financial statements. So I've not only has the circumstances in life changed, the physical location has changed, and what I'm doing has changed. So life is changing, and so do I. Or life is changing, and I need to change. So do I need to change? So, and change for me is challenging. I tend to want to fall back on how I used to do things, how I used to look at things, and it creates difficulty in applying or answering toward my new roles. I just realized, and this was what, 2020, December of 2020, since I was a professional 24/7 caregiver. I guess maybe within the last 2 weeks have realized that. And I was talking to my aunt, I'd say about 2, 3 days ago, and she realized, she says, you're a caregiver. I chuckled. I said, I've just recently come to that same conclusion. That's what I am now. Anyway, so in order to remain effective in life, I have to change. So that's another thing that's been sort of brought to the forefront. Not sort of, but it has. And then there was another area titled malfunction within chapter 1. When things break, when Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall and has a great fall, when you lose your job, a death in the family or a stroke in the family, when you're knocked off the horse, when life malfunctions, the machine can break. And it seems that my machine, if not broken, was severely damaged, in my opinion. And so that's what led me to that. Reading his little area on that, and again, he goes through information, good information, which basically brought out the Rise Up, which was also a section. And I'd like to quote from that, page 26 here. Let's see, page 26, and a little excerpt on 26 and 27. Circumstances change, and so can you. And then, let's see. It means willingly undertaking the sacrifices necessary to generate a productive and meaningful reality. It means acting to please God in the ancient language. Willingness to undertake the sacrifices necessary to generate a productive and meaningful reality. Life as a CPA isn't bad. Can be quite good. Money's good, or it can be. And you can make it what you want or what you need to create a nice reality for yourself. But it took lots of studies, years of preparation and consistency to get there. People would often tell me, and it would drive me nuts, and it would pain me too some, because I would get the comment, usually when things were pretty fantastic for me, while maybe others were going through challenges. They would say, people would say, you're lucky. And it would sadden me, because the reality that I lived wasn't luck. It was consistent effort over a period of time that produces results that change the reality that you live. It's not luck. And so many people, they can look at things from the outside and think maybe you fell into it. One day I wound up in the office of a CPA. Doesn't work that way. Face fears head on is what I got out of that. When I fall, get back up. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. Humpty Dumpty, pick yourself back up. Now that you've had a great fall, dust yourself off and keep moving. Grab that ladder as low as you need to grab, wherever you can grab it on the rung, and begin to pull yourself back up. Myself. That's what I got out of that little section. And now I guess, at the end I wrote some little notes for myself. A little bit revealing, possibly embarrassing. Who knows? But I go first. All right, so this is just something that I wrote down after I read through it to myself. I've suffered a defeat and have adopted the posture of a vanquished lobster. I must build my ladder to my new life based on victories, like I did to graduate college. Small incremental victories are what I need to create for myself because I have already all I need to succeed. I will receive more. To those who have, more will be given. To those who don't have, what little you have will be taken. Because I have all that I need to succeed, I will receive more. Increase serotonin through diet and exercise and incremental success. There was a part in there on serotonin. And when I did my little time with the psychiatrist, one recommendation, a mild recommendation, is I might want to consider brain dope. Whatever it is that they give you, pill, I don't know, but it changes the chemistry in your brain. I can't do that because I have to be responsible for everything I do, I think, everything that I say. So I can never place myself in a position where I relinquish ultimate responsibility for my actions, my speech, everything. And once I ingest something like that, I don't know how that's going to affect my brain. So I decline, and I'm going to do it the hard way. And serotonin, changed my diet. I think it was, I started eating sardines again. I don't like them, but I think there were some vitamins and minerals and some other benefits to sardines. They're a small fish, so they possess less mercury as well. And they're high in, I guess, good stuff. So I swallow a can of sardines periodically. I try to do it, a couple, 3 times a week just to get whatever the stuff is in me. Exercise, that was another one. And I already do 100 push-ups in the morning. But just on that, I'm 58 years old. But I've maintained an exercise regimen ever since I've left the service. There was never an extended period of time where I didn't, so I've always sort of maintained a reasonable level of physical condition. But what I've come to realize now, and I've it's changed over the years. I did, never been a big weightlifter, but light weights, Total Gym 1700 Club, big fan of that thing. I think I've even offered to money back guarantee that device. Yeah, when I recommend it, if you get it and you don't like it, I'll pay you what you paid for it. I made a couple of those, so I was a big proponent of the Total Gym 1700 Club. I don't do too much gym activity, but I did have a gym membership for a short period of time, went for about a couple of weeks. But I've also always maintained, recently I've noticed when I do my push-ups in the morning, I have a good day. But it's a distinct difference when I don't. They say exercise, so it may be that now I've gotten to the point that increase in adrenaline or serotonin or whatever those push-ups do for me in the morning is now a requirement, and I'll have to do that for the rest of my life until I can no longer do push-ups, or maybe some other exercise. But right now I'm just doing push-ups. And then I do other things too, a little bit, once or twice a week. But exercise, diet, and I get sunlight. I walk a lot. I used to run, but I stopped running probably mid to late 40s. I had a knee injury in the service that didn't kick in until some years down the road. But anyway, back to my little notes. The serotonin was one of them. Become a creature of habit. Morning and evening routine is required, so I've tightened up my morning. I have a nice little tight. I got to work on my evening routine. That's a little raggedy, but I got a tight little morning routine, which includes my push-ups, meditation. I read my Bible. I also journal now, so I don't know what good that does, but I've heard people recommend that. So every morning I jot something down on in my little journal book. And maybe I guess I'll go back and see what difference that makes, analyze my own thoughts. Let's see. Become a creature of habit. Morning and evening routine is required. Face fear. Sorry about that. That's my outdoor studio. It's trash day today. Face fear with courage, even the fear of embarrassment and failure. And so that's a part of what I'm accomplishing through this YouTube, because I'm highly self-conscious, more so than I should be, unhealthily so. I'm bashful to a fault. I avoid the stage like nobody's business. I think when I graduated college, I had family, pretty big deal in my family. So I had people coming in from out of state, and so my aunt, a couple relatives wanted to throw me a little graduation party. And I did not want to do that, but they knew to ask first, because, yeah, I would have turned around and vacated that place if it was any kind of a surprise. But yeah, I don't like parties. I don't like being the center of attention. So me being the focal point on a YouTube video is very uncomfortable. Face fear with courage, and even the fear of embarrassment and failure. I'm a funny looking guy, been ugly all my life. I'm an unlikable person. These are all my own sort of my own self-image. But I'm able to, one of the most difficult classes in college was speech. Math and science, that's an automatic A. If I take a math or a science class, my most difficult classes were speech, then upper division political science class, Dr. Schultz. Oh, that was probably the most difficult class that I've ever taken. And then I had a Western literature, some kind of a literature class that was challenging. But speech, yeah, that was got an A in those, but those were my more difficult courses. Hate public speaking unless I'm doing it technically. If I'm an expert, like if I get into in a conference room with people and that kind of a thing, and I'm speaking CPA language, auditing and consulting terms, then I'm the expert in the room, so I have confidence. Anywhere else, I prefer not to. All right, now some of the actions down here. Actions: establish goals with incremental success that build confidence. I started doing that. I went back and actually I'd been operating without clear-cut, clear-defined goals. So once I went and did goal setting and YouTube, I've got to create a YouTube goal. That's another goal that I want. And I don't know what the goal would be, but I want to create a goal related to this YouTube channel. But anyway, establish goals with incremental success to build confidence, or that builds confidence. Employ what I have every day, my talents, my knowledge, my ability. I try to, every morning during my little routine, seek an opportunity to put to use, to make use of some of the things, or as many of those things that I possess, capabilities. And then go to bed on time and wake up on time at a set time. Waking up is easier than going to bed. For me, just so many things, and I'm a caretaker, so the elderly people that I sort of look after don't have a bedtime, so it's sometimes sort of a little wrestle with their needs and, my need to create circadian rhythm in my body. Anyway, that's my round one with chapter one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a good one too. I read that several years ago. But 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, chapter 1. I think next Monday I'll do chapter 2 and continue until I go through. So this will be, for me, a 12-week exercise. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to create a framework based on Dr. Jordan Peterson's book therapy. So anyway, this is my first round of psychoanalysis for public information and entertainment. With that, I'll say I hope you have a wonderful day. I will. And blessings, peace, and joy. Take good care and goodbye.